Oh, hey everybody. Before I say something else, welcome to the recording of day three. Yes, that
We
sounds
got it. We're on day
Yes.
three.
day
Yes.
three. So welcome back to the recording. Back to the live session. This is live right now, but if you're watching the recording, then it's the recording, but it's not okay.
It's live for you.
Yes.
Like it's like time machine. We're speaking into the future, Jason.
Yeah, it's 11:50 a.m. Eastern time right now. So if that's not 11:50 a.m. Eastern time for you, then it is in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I am the singularity.
Yeah.
So, John, some behind the scenes stuff. 3 massive projects that have taken months and months, and including up like a year, are completing today.
What are those as a teaser for the 72 people that are here?
The cloud security expansion deck for backdoors and breaches. Yeah, finished today. Second is the Red Canary expansion deck that is finishing today. And third is Bear vs. Bear #1 is finishing today.
The whole Bear versus Bear.
The whole
thing.
The whole thing. All 52 pages
of it are now done.
Done. Finished.
The cloud and the Red Canary things are awesome. And I know I keep talking about this. I need to come up with the dark expansion pack for competitive. I'm just busy, like, with like 3-4 companies. That's my problem at the moment. So
also, the prompts are arriving today. So people who subscribe to prompts
just now,
it's like arriving today. Like people are letting us know that it's arriving today. So it all got mailed out on Monday, and it's now slowly working its way through the postal service and arriving.
So mine says it'll be here today.
So fun fact, I stuffed probably 500 of those. So there's a very strong possibility that my fingerprints are on your zine.
Okay, so yesterday I promised my other dog on camera.
Oh, we gotta complete the promises here.
Yes. I gotta keep my promise. So here's the little derpy bear.
Oh my God. That is you know what I love about you? Just one of the things that I love about you, Jason, is the juxtaposition, right? Like it's like you have these tattoos of the skull mask thing. Like my favorite one is your hand, the mask thing. It's like, dude, that is so bad. Like that right there, that speaks to me on a level of like that's just, that's like damn right. And it's like you got this hardcore biker thing, and I know like your history and all that, and that's really, really cool. And then you have fucking toys, you have Funko toys behind you, and you got the cutest dog in the world, and it's wearing a sweater.
Yeah, he's actually wearing a it's upside down, so he's wearing a Stranger Things shirt.
Oh, nice.
And then our other dog, he is wearing a shirt that says pants. I believe you mean leg prisons.
So I think we need BHIS like doggy shirts.
Dog clothes.
I don't know how we can, like, what can we put on a doggy shirt for BHIS that deals with hacking?
Phone Patrol.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Sure. Maybe.
Yeah. So, there's so many things that we can do that'll just make no sense to anybody.
Port Sniffer is a good one.
I like that one. Port Sniffer. But Jason, let's make it happen.
Okay.
Doggy shirts like Jason has. Port Sniffer.
I will gladly put them on my dogs.
Well, now that all these massive projects are finishing like today, it's time to start making new T-shirts and hoodies and stuff for the fall. So.
Yeah. I don't have any ideas. Like right now I am fresh out of ideas. Like we did the Joy Division. We did the Malware Finds a Way. I was really excited about that. We had the pterodactyl.
The pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. We need some more ideas on that. But I don't know if you got the email. We need to have tinfoil hats for sale, like gold foil hats. I don't know if we can buy them in bulk, in our store. So
everyone needs to understand that I get these texts from John from time to time. I was like, gold foil hats in the store. And I'm like, all right. Homemade or store-bought?
yeah, we're gonna have to do store bought. Otherwise, Justin's gonna have to get really good at origami. Let me see if I can buy gold foil hats in bulk.
I just need 10,000 gold foil hats in bulk. Why?
I need them yesterday.
No questions. No questions.
So they do make them, by the way.
What a blessing.
They're foil cone gold hats.
Oh, what a weird job I have.
Yeah, we can brand them too.
Okay.
They look like little dunce hats, which I think is perfect. The
Awesome.
conspiracy-minded individual in your family.
If you could just go ahead and send me that link. Yeah.
Bulk gold coin hats branded. Ideal promotional products.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to day 3. This is what it's like. This is what it's like behind the scenes at Black Hills and Anti-Siphon. This is how we keep innovating and just
Not getting burnt out.
not being burnt out.
I say it almost every day, and I tell everybody I know that I love my job.
Yeah.
Especially in front of my boss on a webcam and with a camera.
Nah, I mean, yeah, I do say it there, but
Well, I definitely, thankful we were able to bring someone on board that can help us with webcast, because it's like if I have to do one more it's fine. It's only because during the pandemic we went from 2019 we did 34 webcasts, and in 2020 we did 564, and so the acceleration of
It's a wall. It's not a curve. It's a wall. Yeah. And it's this constant game of keep flapping. We got to keep up that thing. By the way, in that note, I got up this morning and I did 2 more short form videos, BHIS nuggets for Ian, got them edited and into him. And he's got a roadmap of doing 26 in the next 90 days. And I'm planning on doing 26 by myself in 90 days. Just because we like kicking out the content for people, and
and shorter's good. Getting the short.
It's a weird thing for me. Like I'm used to the hour format, and like everyone's like, no, it's got to be 5 minutes or less, because people ignore YouTube videos if they're over that.
Yes.
If they're looking for something, they're like, nah, I'm not gonna look at that one.
Well, same for you. Like, you got used to teaching for 8 straight hours. I got used to teaching for 4 straight hours. And so if you give me like a 45-minute talk to do, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, that's not a problem, right?
I'm done already.
Yeah. Now, what is that application Jeremiah put in a request for? Jeremiah is one of our people that helps us get stuff out there. It does AI, like it looks at a video, and it chops it up, subtitles it, and creates it into little videos. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, so it analyzes the videos, send it the video, the full size. It will go through and find the nuggets, essentially, good content, and then it will spit it back out in the right formats for being able to upload it. And it's got a transcript and a title to it. All of it's customizable, and then you can like do an output. But this thing is freaking amazing. It's Vidya.ai.
Yeah. And it's cool because now we can run an entire webcast through, and then we can literally go through what it kicks out and say garbage, 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 gold, garbage, gold. We're going to be kicking out a lot of content. That's our goal.
And what we started with is we had Jeremiah watch 400 Anti-Siphon and Wallace Hack and Fast and Black Hills videos so that he understood all of the actual content. That was his job for like 4 straight months, was to watch every video we've pretty much ever made.
it's a lot of videos.
It was.
That seems really cruel. That's like, Jeremiah, we want you to watch all these videos. All right, you did it. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run it through an artificial intelligence algorithm that's going to replace you. It's like having someone dig their own grave. Do you see how good it is? Do you see that? Do you see that, Jeremiah? Yeah. That's why we all need to know how to be a barista. No, but what he's going to have to do now is actually a hard job. It's going through and looking at them and understanding which ones are golden and which ones aren't.
Yeah. Because if you put out crap out there, people are like, why did you share this? And you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have done that.
Also, was Jeremiah the one? I know we got to get started here. Was that the name of the character that, John Henry was the one that fought the steam engine?
I thought it was Jack Henry. Let's see. Paul Henry? No.
Somebody said John.
Yeah.
John Henry.
Yeah. So at least his name's not like, imagine if like Jeremiah's name was really John Henry. And I'm like, all right, so you have to try to beat the AI at your job.
That's just evil. That's bad. All right. Are we ready to get rolling, gentlemen?
All yours,
yes. You got to share your screen first, though.
Yep, we're on it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for returning. We really, really, truly do appreciate it. Otherwise, this entire thing that we are doing would be incredibly awkward. But I have to ask, has recording started?
Yes, the recording started.
All right, awesome. Somebody's reading Chapter House Dune at the moment. Ooh, worm sign negative Moabdib. By the way, quick Dune fact. If you watch the first trailer for the first movie, what is the song? Does anyone know the song? Like when you're watching the first Dune trailer for the good movie that just came out, they're playing a song in that, not the David Lynch one, the good one. They're playing a song, and that song is Reprise from the movie or from the album Dark Side of the Moon. All that you touch and all that you see. And there was a bunch of people that called out and they said, well, that's just, they're using Pink Floyd to sell this movie as a cheap trick. And it's just this horrible like use of commercialization. Led Zeppelin sold out and they sold out. It has nothing to do with the movie. However, if you look at Eclipse, and what is it? Reprise, Eclipse, the two songs, it's from the album Dark Side of the Moon, and everything is eclipsed by the moon. And Moabdib is Paul Atreides' name to the firman. Moabdib is a mouse, and the moon in Arrakis has a shadow that looks like a mouse or Moabdib. So Moabdib is in the moon in the books, like the actual mouse. So the song is incredibly apt for the movie. So, okay. So the David Lynch version, I don't want to say it's bad. Okay. I think Sting was a mistake with that one, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. There's also a French dude. I can't remember the guy's name. Jodorowsky's Dune. I can't remember. I can't pronounce his name. Jodorowsky's. I am so glad that version of Dune did not get made, because he missed the entire damn point of the book. Like when you get to the end and what he wants to do, he's like, this is how it's going to end, and everybody's Moabdib. And that is literally not the point of the movie or the book at all. All right. So let's keep rolling. So we have this lab that we're going to jump into. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of scripts. But the first one is the challenge script that you're going to be working with. So I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to be jumping back and forth here over the next couple of slides. And we actually have the solution to this at the very end. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the IP tables Linux firewall. So you can do IP tables -L, and it'll list out all the firewall rules on your system. And right now you can see that I have 3 separate chains, right? So we have the input, the forward, and the output chains. And that's exactly how this firewall works, right? So the input chain is what's coming into the system. The forward chain is what's being forwarded through that computer system, like a firewall or a router, because you can enable IP forwarding. And the output is what's leaving this system. Those are the main chains that you start with. And there's a bunch of other tables that you can work with, like Mangle. So if we wanted to create a very simple rule in IP tables, we would do IP tables space minus capital A. We're adding a rule with the input chain. The protocol is TCP. The source IP address is 172.16.30.42. And we're going to jump it to drop, which means it's going to drop any and all packets to the system. This one is not in the VM as a lab. It is a challenge lab that we're going to work with on this situation as well. By the way, if you got that VLT, it's time to revert to snapshot or re-extract your VM, because Microsoft released an update that literally bricked Windows computer systems. And my VM was lucky enough to get that bad update. So I'm sorry. It's kind of a crappy thing, but we're working on ways to fix that. And I might have something for you all here in a couple of minutes. Might have something for you. So you can also clear your rules with clear your rules with flush, which actually flushes those rules out. We're going to be using bash though, and we're going to be going through and doing bash scripting. So we're going to be doing a while loop, and while one just means it's going to loop again and again and again and again and again in this particular situation. We're going to have it do something and then semicolon done. Once again, if all of this is completely like gibberish to you, that's okay. I'm going to break this down when we do it faster. And I also have the solution that you can try to type in as well. So we're going to do that. We can assign a variable. So you can type foo equals bar and echo $foo. Now you can put that echo $foo, and anywhere you do that, it doesn't say $foo, it prints out bar instead. We can also use cut to cut out certain fields. So if I were to do something like uname minus a, so let's do that. Let's do uname minus a. You can see I have the name of the system as Linux desktop space. We have what is the version of Linux space #1 space SMP. And what we can do is we can pipe that through, and we can, we can pipe that through. We can pipe it through cut, specify a delimiter, and then specify our fields. So let me show you what that looks like. Pipe that through cut. We specify the delimiter as a space. And then we can say, I want to see field 1 or field 2. So we start with 1. I got 2 pipes. I piped into a pipe. There we go. And you can see it says Linux, desktop, version, number, Wednesday, Feb 19th, time. You get the idea. All right. So what we just did with this is we took this long string of data right here. Remember that? And let's say I don't want Linux desktop. I only want the kernel version that is on this particular system. That is all I want out of this. So I know that that's 1, 2, 3. That is the third value. So I can do uname minus a, pipe it through cut, and then I can specify a space and pull out the third value coming in, right? So I'm not saying that you're going to be working with the uname command, but you will definitely be working with cut to pull out specific data in a string that comes back as well. Netcat is incredibly powerful. So what we're doing is we're basically creating a Netcat listener. Excuse me. There we go. I'm going to split my tab like so. We're going to create a Netcat listener that listens on a port. And whenever I connect to it, like that on port 2222, what I want it to do is I want it to actually drop my IP address. But if you're looking at this netcat command, it didn't record the IP address. So we can get it to record that IP address like this, and we can add a V for verbose. So now it says I'm listening on this specific point. I can make a connection, and you can see it says connection from localhost. So I know that I can capture the IP address in the third field. So what we do to get that is this. So we take that, we pipe it through grep. What's it? It was, go ahead and go received. Do a grep statement because I only want to pull that line. That. Now, whenever I make that connection, you can see I've got the connection from the local host. All right, so far so good. So let's build it up a little bit more. Now I can pipe it through cut, specify a delimiter. The delimiter is going to be a space like so. And then I can say I want the third field like that. And now I can make my connection, and it's still giving me the full thing, but it's actually not quite doing that. And the reason why is because Netcat is dumping its data to standard error instead of standard output. So we can actually pull that from standard output as well. So once again, if all of this is like, this makes no sense, like I have no idea what the hell is going on, don't worry, I've got a solution for it as well. So we can pipe data through, and get chains of different commands pulling that data. You can also go through and print the variable by using awk. Yes, you can use sed, you can use awk. In fact, I think I do use awk in my example as well. We also have standard output and standard input insofar as shell redirects, where we can try to pull out that data from Netcat as well. And there's awk, because awk can be your friend. So you're going to need to chain some things together to get this to work. And the output of the command might need to be assigned to a variable. So we can do that, right? And I have the solution right here. So if you're completely lost or you're like, I have no idea what the hell is going on, I have the solution. You can type in the solution and you can just try to get this to work. And what I'm going to do is when we're done with this challenge, because there are people that are relatively like functional with Linux, they can treat it as a challenge. I'm going to give everyone about 30 minutes to work through it, to type it in, because there's going to be errors, there's going to be problems and all these different things. And we're going to walk through it together because there's a lot of cool troubleshooting things that we can work with here. And if you're exceptionally ambitious, one of the things that you can do is you can do the same thing in Windows in the tools directory. And I will walk through what this one does. It does the exact same thing, but you can do this because, you know, God hates you if you want to try to do it on Windows. It doesn't have a lab on it. It is a challenge is what we're going to do. And it starts here, auto drop from the command line. I give some tips on how to change things together. And then I give the solution at the end, and then I will walk through through it in about 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and let's get started on this. And if you need any help, please hit up people in the class. Like I said, there is a solution to this. By the way, you might need to use VI, and I have some people that are not really familiar with VI. And you can do VI if you want. I'll put up the instructions for VI, but you can do VI, and then you can do file, which would be your actual script that you're going to execute. And then you hit A to start editing. You hit escape to exit editing. Hit the colon key to send a command to the VI. Then you type WQ exclamation point to write. Quit and exit. There you go. So there you go. All right, everybody. Nano is better than VI right up to the point that you start editing raw C code, or you're trying to deal with things that you don't want certain characters to be in. But that's just that's the way it goes. So like I said, there is a solution to this as well. The slides that we're working on are in the PDF. They're in the resources tab of Discord. So the slides actually begin on 86. So we'll have to edit that out. Yeah, everyone was recording. I'm sure the recording is in there, but I don't know if anyone copied it as fast as they did. I know some people are really, really fast and they have great memories. So I'm going to have to change my, my Zoom password. Too late, hacked. All right, with that, everybody, let's take about half an hour to do this, and we will resume in just a little bit. Hey, everybody. Anyone there? So we have some people that had trouble getting the VM up and running. You can email me at john@blackhillsinfosec. And I will just, let's call the email Sasquatch. Just that's the title of the email. And I put this inside of Zoom, not in Discord. But if you can email me with the email of the title subject Sasquatch, I will get you added into the Cloud Lab version of the class. So specifically for people that couldn't get the VM up and running. So this is a new thing that we're trying out. So if you got it, didn't get it, shoot me an email and I will get you set up. All right. Thanks. All right. Let's continue on. Sorry. I've been running and adding people to the cloud environment. It looks like if I start up a session, people can jump into my session, but you can also start up your own sessions as well. So I've got to get my fleet of cloud monkeys to basically say, hey, if we're doing VNC sessions, let's not have 100 people share the same VNC session because that won't work. So we're gonna get the fleet of flying monkeys on that right away. I've already opened up a ticket and told them it's bad. All right. So, but we're getting there. I mean, there's some people that are able to go through some of the labs. You can bring up your own instance. You can, instead of going into one of the running ones like 79, you can just spin up your own instance and then it'll start a new number and that'll be you. So you can do that. So we'll get there. We'll get there. It's no big deal. All right. So let's go through this. And I'm going to let you know that someone is rebooting my VM right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to become root on this as well. And one of the things I didn't tell y'all is that I've already got a script built and in the entire environment. So I'm going to break out of this real quick. And we're going to walk through how I troubleshoot and how I build. It's fine, techie bees. Like, we're just trying stuff out. So I'm not frustrated at all. I'm not even mad, really. Like, I think it's cool that people found out we could jump into each other's virtual machines. That's not a bad thing. It's better to do it now than at the beginning of the class with 1,000 people. That's why we do this stuff. So we're trying to make this stuff better for people. And this company is willing to help us out for free. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not even mad at them. The fact that I have a company that's willing to step up and try to help us with this stuff and doing pay what you can classes and getting people VMs at no charge, I'm not even mad. Not even mad. All right. So like I told you, I have the solution in this VM. It's just completely set up. So if you become root and you look in root's home directory, we have this file called honeyport.sh, right? And if I less honeyport.sh, it actually gives us the entire script ready to go, at least one version of it. There's a number of ways that you can do this. I probably have gotten some more. I put a bunch of them out. More than likely, yeah, it looks like all the emails I received, they should have access right now. If you didn't get it, try resending it and also check your spam. All right. So what we're doing in this script is we're executing a bash script and then it's going to echo started. You can literally take this line by line and you can run it like that. You do echo started, it says started. The next thing that we have is we're assigning a variable. All right. So what we're doing is we're assigning a variable called IP. And we're putting it in the output of this string of gibberish. All right. And we're going to go through the string of gibberish with y'all step by step by step. So the first thing that we're doing is we're running netcat, be verbose, don't resolve any names. And we're going to redirect standard error into standard output. So I mentioned that you have a problem with trying to capture specific strings with netcat because when netcat prints things out, it prints them into standard error. All right. So what the hell am I talking about? So on your system, you have standard input, which is referenced as a 0. You have standard output, which is referenced as a 1. And you have standard error, which is referenced with a 2. Now, anytime netcat gives you a message like somebody connected from this IP address, it puts that into standard error. But we want to capture it in standard output. The difference is output is something that could be picked up. Error is not just used for errors, but for messages from specific tools. Long sidetrack, but it's basically a way that netcat can keep data streams clean and not polluting them with its own internal messages. So think about it like this. Let's say I'm transferring a file, right? So I'm transferring a file over netcat from my system to your system. And in the process of transferring this binary, Netcat in the middle says, I received a connection from that IP address. That's bad. That will break that binary. So what you do is you have messages from Netcat go to standard error, and the data goes to standard output. So we're basically taking the data from standard output error and redirecting it to standard output so we can capture that IP address. Trust me, it'll make sense. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this string right here, and I'm going to run just the string listening on port 1025. So I've got that up and running. I'm going to split my tab again. Let's do that. And then I'm going to connect on 1025. So I'm going to go netcat 127.0.0.1 on port 1025, like so. And you can see it says connection from this IP address has been received. Great. So let's continue building up our command piece by piece. The next thing that we have in our command is we're piping it through grep, and we want to only print the string receive, or any line that has the word received, as in a connection was received. So we're going to put that in like so. I just realized I didn't hit enter. There we go. That helps. There we go. Oh, come on. Oh, I got to complete it out. That's right. All right. So I want to grab received, and I want to grab the third value. So now I got to string this all together and do it in one shot, or it's just not going to work as well. So I'm going to take that, paste that. There we go. Now we have that connection, and now we can connect in. There. I'm getting there, folks. I'm getting there. There we go. Now I'm going to connect in, and now it's received that connection. And if I kill that connection, Control C, I get the IP address. And the reason why I get that IP address is because we pull out the line with received. So let's capture that, do that. Now I've got my stuff set up. And now I can connect into that system, hit enter, connect in. And you can see that it's only pulling out the string that has it's only pulling out the line that has the word received. So now I've got the line. So I'm not pulling this gibberish up above where it's saying, listening on this IP address family, I got rid of that line. I'm only going to print the lines that have the IP addresses of the system that made the inbound connection on this system. So now I'll kill that. I'm going to reset this because it's a lot easier whenever I don't have the entire mess. And then we're going to pull out the awk statement where I specified the delimiters, and we're pulling in the third delimiter. So I'm going to run that. And now we're going to reconnect. And it doesn't actually print anything until I kill the connection, because as soon as I kill that connection, it then prints that line that says that a connection from an IP address was received. And now it only prints the IP address. Okay. The final thing that we do is this. I take this entire string and I assign it to a variable. So I go IP equals, and then I put this in backticks like so. Now, whenever I make the connection and I kill it, there we go. If I do echo IP, $IP, now it prints the IP address that made the connection. So what we're doing with this entire string is we're going through all this work to assign an IP address to a variable. That's it. That's all we're doing. Then we take that IP address variable and we build an IP tables rule around it, where we do IP tables minus a input. And I can literally take this entire command now, like that, paste it in there. And now I have an IP tables rule that blocks any and all traffic from that specific IP address, i.e. the local host, right? And I can flush that out to make it go away, right? So there we've got those cleaned up. And then I can echo out that the IP address has been blocked, like so. And now it says this IP address 127.0.0.1 has been blocked. So now what happens whenever we run it, let me break out of this and let's just run our honeypot or honeyport.sh script. It says it started, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to connect from my Windows computer system, right? So my IP address is 172.29.86.79. And I'm going to, let's open up a command prompt here. Let me pull that down. Great. Go. There we go. That's better. Now I'm going to open up a command prompt and I'm going to cd into the tools directory. Now I do netcat to my IP address on 1025. Was it 1025 or 1024? I can't remember. 1025. All right. So 1025, like that. I hit enter and I have made the connection. Now, if I do stuff and then I kill that connection, at the end of that connection, I now get this little thing that says 172.29.80.1 has been blocked. So if I try this whole thing again, right? If I try to rerun it, it doesn't work. I can't. Hacking doesn't work anymore. All right. So we created a rule that as soon as somebody makes a connection to this specific port on this computer system, it actually blocks that computer system. And if I list out, you can see anything coming from my Windows computer system will be blocked. And I can flush that out. All right. So now we've created this cool thing. As soon as somebody connects to that port, it actually blocks that connection on that computer system, which is really, really, really cool. So now my question is, do you see any problems with this? Because a lot of people really get frustrated and they're like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that because if I do that and I have this automatic block script, as soon as somebody connects to that port, it'll block me. What is it I could be worried about an attacker doing? Anyone? We got several people typing. DOS? How would they DOS it? That's a good point. How would they DOS it? How would that happen? Spoof the SYN. That is a very good point. It's a very, very, very good concern, and it's also not a problem. The reason why is this particular script only fires in the event of a full established connection, right? So if I rerun this honeyport and I go back to my Windows computer system, right? So gibberish, and I run Nmap against this computer system. Let's say I do Nmap and I do a SYN scan against port 1025, like that. It's going to say that that port is open. I can rerun it again and it says it's open, says it's open, says it's open, says it's open. I can run SYN scans all day long and it's not going to work. I can even specify a decoy as well. Can't remember if it's a capital D. I could put like 8.8.8.8, do a SYN scan like that. And it's not going to block anything at all. Right? So I can specify a decoy on that as well. However, this particular scan, it only triggers in the event of a full established connection, right? This only works and it only blocks a system that makes a full established connection. And on modern operating systems, you cannot easily spoof an established connection. You can't. And let's spend a couple of seconds talking about this. If I'm spoofing a SYN packet, that's easy to do, right? I can spoof a SYN packet from Google, but your system's going to respond back to Google with the SYN ACK. And what is Google going to do when it receives an unsolicited SYN ACK? What happens when it gets that? It sends a reset or it drops it. Depends on the firewall implementation, but it's going to reject that connection. So in order for me to spoof a full established connection, I have to spoof the IP address of the system, and I have to spoof what the response would be to the initial sequence number that the victim's computer system responded with. And that is a 32-bit number. Now, how many possible values are there in a 32-bit number? At least 3. There's 32-bit number. It's like 4.2 billion and change. So you have to guess what a number is in a 4.2 billion random number sequence. And you have to respond back before the real system responds back with a reset. So the point is, it's not very likely that this is going to work where an attacker can spoof this. And by the way, the risk of that spoofing is the exact same as it is for any TCP/IP connection. So there's no real elevated risk to doing this, because if I take this scan and instead of sending a SYN packet, I kick it up to a full established connection, we now have a problem. All of a sudden, we now have a firewall rule that is blocking any and all TCP connections coming from that IP address. So in this situation, it only triggers in the event of a full established connection. So we don't have to worry about DOS conditions showing up. So that is how we deal with port spoofing. Now, I have some additional labs that some of you can play with. I'm not going to go through all of them because they hurt my head. You can do this. We have the entire script that you can run. You can retype this script. We went through and we triggered the trap, but you can also do this on Windows from the command line as well. It's the exact same thing with Windows batch scripting. For F, we specify delimiters. We say that there's 4 tokens. We're going to get the I variable. In, we set up this entire thing exactly what we did on our Linux system, but with different syntax. Do set IP address equal to the variable on that. And then we do netsh ADV firewall, add rule to name, and then we put in delete direction in from the variable IP address. And that hurts. That makes people have a SAD on that as well. So you can also do this with PowerShell. GFOS has a cool little script that does this in PowerShell. And it gets into a question of, what does this buy you? Well, it buys you visibility. Once again, we talk about how detection time plus reaction time must be less than the amount of time it takes for an attacker to break into a computer system. We just did 2 things. One of the things that we did is we set up, watching people run things on this VM in VNC, which is pretty cool. One of the things that this does, thank you so much for letting me know. One of those things that this does is it buys you more time, because the attacker is now going to have to spend additional time trying to break into a computer system. And whenever they touch those computer systems, it basically causes them to stop responding in that environment as well. Also with this, if you set up proper alerting, it gives you the capability to get alerted as soon as somebody does trip this. So we got the devil's advocate. What about the admin who finds this weird port and thinks, what should this be on, and connects to it? I think at that point, it's a life learning lesson not to connect to random ports at work, which is just, I think, good process. They shouldn't be doing that anyway on those things as well. And also it would block just their IP address. So a little bit of a story about this. The first time that I actually said this, or that I actually did this in a live environment, I was a long time ago. It was about 10 years ago. I had a customer that was in the middle of an adversarial pen test, and this was a pen test that was foisted upon them by the new CEO of the company. The new CEO of the company had an idea that they were going to look at the 2 network operation centers. They had 2 network operation centers. One of them was in the East Coast and one of them was in the West Coast. And they were going to do a competition to see which one they were going to get rid of, because the CEO thought, we have 2 network operation centers. That's ridiculous. It's redundant. And we're wasting all of this money. Well, his idea was to fire everybody at one of those network operation centers and get rid of that redundancy. So they were going to hire a pen test to see which environment had the cleanest environment. And that was going to be the sole determination insofar as which one was going to continue to function. My friend called me up. We set this up on a bunch of servers. The pen tester showed up and started scanning the environment with Nmap. Hundreds of IP addresses, thousands of ports, pen testers all excited. They ran a Nessus scan and the entire network went dark. Now, if you're pen testing and an entire network goes dark, you tend to pee yourself just a little, because you think that maybe, just maybe, you just crashed an entire environment. So they contacted my friend. My friend said, hey, we got this rule. When someone scans the entire environment, it actually shuns them. And the pen tester got all mad, demanded that this be removed. So what they said was, great, we will remove this rule for your scanner, just add another firewall rule. But we need you to put into your report that every vulnerability that you find from this point out was because we reduced the security of our environment. The pen tester totally didn't do that in the first draft of the report. Now, my friend kept his job. their NOC was more secure, and the other NOC was fired. Unfortunately for that wily CEO that was saving lots and lots and lots of money, about 3 months later, they had a huge spike in traffic. The load balancing was load balancing between the East Coast and the West Coast NOC, brought down the NOC because they couldn't handle the traffic. CEO got mad at the CTO and said, "What the hell? How come we're going down?" The CTO said, verbatim, "You had us get rid of our redundant NOC, and that's why this happened." And the CEO's quote was, "Don't you pin this on me." A few months later, the CEO was fired. So that's the first time I ever used this. So why not run these things absolutely everywhere? You should. They're simple, little to no impact on production. They are low interaction. They may mess with vulnerability assessment scanners, but you can create exceptions in your firewall rules that allows your vulnerability scanner to run. It is possible, though very, 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 very unlikely, that someone would be able to DOS. But once again, there's no greater risk than anything else that exists online. Which now brings us to our next lab. This is going to be a break and a lab together. So it's kind of a twofer. We're going to be playing with PortSpoof, which is one of my all-time favorite tools in this class. PortSpoof does magic, ladies and gentlemen. So what happens with PortSpoof is you not only are standing up a port that's being spoofed, what you're doing is, let me show you. You're going to create IP tables rules that are going to redirect any of the traffic coming into the system, and it's going to redirect it to port 4444, where PortSpoof is listening. And when you scan your system from your Windows computer, right here, it says you must scan your Windows from your Windows machine to your Linux IP address. It's going to say those ports are open, but it's going to say that all of them are TCP wrapped. So what we can do is run PortSpoof, provide signatures for the services, and now it's standing up fake services to the Nmap scan. And we're only going to scan 10 ports. And I want you to kind of like take a moment and capture how long it takes to scan those 10 ports. All right, everybody. So that is the lab. We're going to do a break for 10 minutes. Then we're going to do a lab for 20 minutes, and I will resume at 30 after. So get rolling.
Everything was good this morning when we launched and everything. I missed it, but I'm glad to be.
Yes, John decided that we are going to be doing BHIS dog shirts now.
Oh,
So, yes.
sweet.
Yes.
Your dog pajamas because they're cuter, especially for long dogs.
For long dogs. You mean like your wiener dog?
Yes, I have 2 long dogs.
Two
My
long
Basset.
dogs.
My Basset is long too. So, security
Today-
shrimp, a wiener dog. Is yours the jerk too? Yeah, mine is.
I got Chick-fil-A today.
Oh, she's half Chihuahua. Mine is supposed to be a miniature dachshund. And he's not very miniature. He's kind of chunky. He weighs like, because I had to take him to the vet because he hurt himself. And he weighs like 25 pounds. And I was having to haul him up and down the stairs. It was like, oh my gosh, it was a workout.
One of mine is like 6.5 pounds and the other one's like 5. So
So you can lift those. You could actually do a workout with those.
come on, get down here and lay down, Fitz.
Key Edmund 24. I will. I'll DM you. Yeah. So did mine, Security Shrimp. So he woke up one day and I put him down on the floor because he sleeps on my bed, and his back legs just completely didn't work. So they did like acupuncture and laser therapy and steroids, and now he seems to be fine. But yeah, that was scary. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get him wheels and like put diapers on him and stuff, but he's doing better now. Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of problems with their backs, I guess, because of their length. And he's still not jumping up on stuff. I know. Don't dog fat shame me. I know he's a little he's a little on the chunky side, but in
Just
his
a little.
he couldn't run there for a little bit. And now I don't really want him to run around because I don't want him to re-injure himself. So
I've got a California King bed, and it's pretty high off the bed. It probably about my waist, and I'm like 5'9", 5'10". So it's a pretty high bed. And our Fitz, he's the smaller one, the younger one. He for the longest time would not jump off the bed because he sleeps in bed with us. So does the other one. They both do.
yeah.
And so Moose, the older one, he no problem. Like the second time we put him up on the bed, he jumped off and took off.
Yeah.
But Fitz, he just started yesterday jumping off the bed. So, and he's got like little tiny baby legs. So he's doing okay.
Is that your dog, Eric? Like this? That's a cute. Oh, it's a long-haired wiener dog. They're so cute. Mine's short hair. Oh, look at Gizzy. Gizzy looks terrified of everything. Oh.
Right.
So cute.
Yeah, we have a major problem. Fitz is no problem. You put a leash on him and he's like, yeah, let's go. And he just wants to go everywhere. But Moose, we put the leash on him and he like yelps and whines like
Yeah.
we're beating him. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're
what is
injuring him.
I'm like, what are you doing?
I know that you're gonna get the doggy police called on me. Stop it. Get
Right.
it out.
Like all I did was put the leash on you to go for a walk and like, yeah, he's terrible. Now, if I don't put the leash on him and just let him walk by my side, he will stay right by my side and walk with me no matter where I go. But if I put the leash on him, he like sits down and just yelps and whines and cries. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's not. Do you have a fenced in yard?
No.
That's
But that, I'm happy. I mean, I'm not happy I don't have a fenced in yard. Trust me, I want to put a pool in, but
yeah.
eh.
Oh,
But yeah, they do not like, they'll walk up. So you know how you have your yard and then you have the sidewalk and then you have more grass that's by the street?
Yeah.
Yeah. They will not go on the sidewalk. They stay in the grass.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So they'll walk down to the sidewalk, but they will
Oh.
not go on the sidewalk.
Oh, everybody's showing their puppies.
Yeah, my wife made fun of me when we first got Moose because I would carry him around everywhere. And she's like, you look like one of those ridiculous women who carry their dog in their purse.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I thought about getting like a baby Bjorn type of situation for my dog because like thunderstorms. Oh my gosh. Do your dogs get scared at thunderstorms?
nope, fireworks, they're just fine. Thunderstorms, they're just fine. Like it's crazy. Nothing bothers them except the trash truck. They are scared to death.
Yeah. If it starts, like if there's one rumble of thunder, my dog has like a panic attack and he pants and paces or like there's nothing. I've tried the thunder jacket. I've tried giving him like a CBD like treat. I've tried everything and he barreed.
There is something you should try. We gave it to our dogs we gave it to Moose when we went to go pick up Fitz. And then
Aw.
on the way back, we gave it to Fitz as well. But it's like I don't know, it's a peanut butter treat. It's a bar.
Yeah.
And you break it off and give it to them, and it just mellows them out. Like,
Is
they're
it
like-
CBD? Because I tried that. That one didn't work.
no, it's not CBD. It's I don't remember what it is. My wife has it in her
like a
in her car.
melatonin type.
Yeah, she has it in her car because we don't take
Yeah.
them on trips in my
Yeah.
Jeep because it's my Jeep and I would lose my shit if they
If
threw up or
made a
pooped in my
mess,
Jeep
yeah.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
They're
go crazy.
banned. Dr. Pooper.
Yeah, so
That's funny. Lucata, maybe I am not sure. Do you
you have a firewall running? Hmm.
maybe go over to tech support and see if somebody over there can help you out with that?
Yeah.
It's your firewall one. You better go
Oh,
get
this
that
guy.
was a good one.
That
yeah.
was a good prank back in the day when you could, there was no
Is your
caller ID.
refrigerator running?
Right.
Okay, busy butter. Okay. I'm sold. I'll try it. I'll get it. We have like a little local pet store, so I'm sure they have it there. That's where I tried the CBD things, and that just he wouldn't even eat it.
Yeah, I've thought about trying some CBD stuff for the dogs, but
Yeah.
I don't really see a point with mine because they're just so
they're
chill already.
Yeah, they're already well behaved.
Yeah.
Like mine just aren't. So they lose
So
it.
one of them, Moose, my wife was home yesterday because her blood sugar, she's hypoglycemic,
Yeah.
and her blood sugar dropped. And so she was
Yeah.
home all day yesterday. And she was sitting in the living room watching TV, and both of the dogs were sitting up there with her watching TV. And we have a mirror by the front door, and the reflection. So we have a mirror by the front door, and then we have a Joker poster on the opposite wall. So when you look in the mirror, you see the Joker poster. And the light from the TV was reflecting off the Joker poster, which was reflecting in the mirror. And I don't know, I guess that just triggered Moose, and he started like growling and barking at it. And it's like, but it was like one bark, and then we tell him to knock it off, and then he would just sit there and stare at it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, they're still really puppies.
Yeah.
So, well, it looks like we
Oh,
are
we are overdue for getting
we
off
are
of here. So.
overdue. But I'm here now, so everybody can hear no more. I'm here. So if you have any questions, you can either at me in the channel or you can send me a DM, and we'll be back with the next.
Enjoy your
break.
lap, guys.
Okay, everybody, let's get going. I processed all of the emails for people that wanted in to Cloud Lab, and you should all have access. And we actually got the team of Flying Monkeys to establish the isolation between systems as well. So that's cool. If you have all of the ports listening on your previous lab, it's IP. Here, let me type it in real quick. Let's do this. There's L. IP tables minus L will clear. Sorry, minus F. Will flush the rules because that's what's going on. There's a firewall rule that stops it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and walk through this. First, can you all see my screen? Can I get thumbs up in Zoom or in Discord, please? Makes me feel super awesome. All right, we're good to go. And like I said, if you, okay, so I got Amanda. I'll be processing some more Sasquatch emails here in just a couple of minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this port spoof lab. We're going to do some more slides and then we'll take another break and I will go through and fix it. All right. So I'm already root. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run IP tables and we're going to add a rule to the NAT table specifically to pre-routing. We're going to match the protocol as TCP IP. The destination port will be a range, between 1 and 65,536. And if anything comes in on that specific port, we're going to redirect to port 4444, right? Now, I have that rule in place, and we are now going to start port spoof. So let me go ahead and start that. We are. And now I'm going to get my IP address here, which is 172.29.86.79. Let's run an Nmap scan, huh? So I'm going to put in the port range. Let's do 1 to 10 like that. Just a really, really quick SYN scan of the ports on this particular computer system. Takes a couple of seconds for it to run. There we go. One system's up. There we are. So now it is found that all 10 ports are in fact open on this system, right? So all 10 ports are running, but we're not done yet. Also, I want you to take note of the timing. The scan took, I think it took 7 seconds or something. It didn't take that long. No, you wouldn't be doing 1 through 65,535 for realsies. Oh, there is 9.7 seconds. But you can set it up in ranges on those things as well. And I can zoom in. So we have that set up, but we're not done. We're going to do some more bad things on this situation as well. So let's go ahead and let's kill port spoof. And we're now going to run it with a slightly different thing. Oh, wait, let me rerun it because I need to show you why. So if I go over here and I rerun my scan and I do a version scan, it's going to try to identify what are the specific versions of the software that's running on ports 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to go through and it's going to try to identify and query that service. Rather than just seeing that that port is open, now it comes back and it says, well, it's TCP wrapped, it's TCP wrapped, it's TCP wrapped, which is kind of its default for no response. Okay, so let's change that to where we're giving it something much more interesting to actually work with. So we're going to kill that. Now I'm going to run port spoof, but we're going to run port spoof with a signature file instead. So we're going to go ahead and kick off port spoof with our signature. And give that the little S like so. There we have it. And now let's rerun our port scan with the version identification. So with that version identification in play, I'm going to scan 10 ports on this system with a version scan. And let's take a few moments and let's talk about time and how long things take. Now, some people noticed that Nmap puked on some of the service identifications. It was like, I don't know what the hell this is. Could you tell me what it is? If you find out what it is, send it to the Nmap project and then let them know what this particular service is on this particular computer system. That's okay, because the point isn't that Nmap comes back with absolutely 100% accurate service ports. The point of what we're actually trying to do here is really screw with the attacker. So right now I hit spacebar. I've been going for 36 seconds on 10 ports. There we go. Now we got it. So it said it took 40 seconds right here, 40 seconds, 40.93 seconds to scan 10 ports on this computer, right? And it says port 1 is TCP-MUX, CompressNet. But then it got down to port like 9, and it says it's Telnet, and it's a Zexel Zawal USG 200 firewall. And then it says, here's some unrecognized services that I didn't understand. But here's the thing, that's actually better. The reason why that's better is because it screws Nmap up. It's trying desperately to identify what those different services are, and it queries and it interacts with that service even longer. So let's say, hypothetically, we round this up. This is on a local VM, scanning VM to VM for 40 seconds to scan 10 ports. Let's round that up to a minute. As I said, there are 65,536 ports on a computer system. That's 16 bits of possible ports. So I got a question. How long in hours is 65,536 minutes? Anyone want to do that math? How long is that in hours? Should be really, really basic. A lot is a correct answer, VLT. So 65,536 minutes is how many hours? So Lendon says this. So a use case, should I set up port spoof on multiple machines or device and test prod, since the typical pen tester would scan that network? So what I recommend with port spoof is stand it up in your prod environment in your different subnets and one system that's dedicated to port spoof. So just let me give you a use case. So what this does is it creates a trap for port scan and vulnerability assessments that attackers are running and trying to identify what ports and services are running in your environment. So if you just stand this up on a handful of systems, it completely tars down the entire scan that's being done. So let me show you. Let me just give you an example of that, right? So if I run this Nmap scan like this, and this was really just evil. If I go 65,535, right? I'm scanning all ports. It's going to take 1,092 hours to scan. And how many days is that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? How many days is it? If we're going to spend 1,000 hours running a scan, how many days are we looking at? So when you're looking at the scan, this gets into a problem with Nmap, right? Nmap doesn't just dump its status until it's done. So you get into this like sunk cost fallacy. So somebody runs a vulnerability scan, they run a port scan, they're running these different scans on these systems, and their scanners just froze. It's hung up. And right now it's saying in the stealth scan, it's only 0.15% done. Now, the problem for the wily attacker is if I kill it, something's wrong. Now I have to restart the entire scan. So they just sit here waiting for that scan to complete. Meanwhile, in the back end, you should be getting tons of alerts for all of this. And you should be freaking out that someone is trying to do an active scan, but you've completely tar-pitted this attacker from running an internal scan in your environment. You can also put it on the outside of your environment as well and completely screw with people that are doing active vulnerability scanning of the entire internet. So this gets back to that detection time plus reaction time must be less than the amount of time it takes to successfully break into an environment. It really messes with that calculation because now the attack time is through the roof and your detection time is baseline. They got caught in this tripwire. So what we're doing is we're taking advantage of those automated scanning tools that are out there. So we've just created white noise. And believe it or not, there are firewall vendors that will respond to the affirmative to every single SYN packet to a non-live IP address or port. This is something that's built into Palo Alto and Fortinet, where it literally generates something similar to what's in port spoof. It's just white noise. Now, it doesn't spoof the services, but it at least responds and says that those ports are open. Now, can an attacker find out about this and figure out the right port? Absolutely. If you run port spoof more than once, it's going to randomize the ports multiple times. So you look for the services that stay the same. That's number one. Number two, do a scan just for the services that you might be interested in. And number three, the attacker may be able to disconnect their adapter to see which of the ports are open. But all of that sucks. Like if you're an attacker and you have to go through and sift through this and you have to spend hours sifting through this, well, I'd call that a win, right? So port spoof does this and it does a very good job of it as well. So we did port spoof. All right. So when we're setting up these honeyports, where should we set them up? There's a number of different strategies on where these different things can be. One is install them on everything, like every single system that you possibly can in your environment, right? The other way is to set up designated hosts in your environment where you would run things like port spoof on them, like different subnets. And this allows you to capture a lot of these different types of connections. So these are actual fake services, right? Setting up chaff that's out there. The next lab, Cowrie and Keepo, is where we're giving them a real server to actually connect into. So Cowrie is different from a simple honeypot because it actually allows the attacker to interact with SSH, right? It's an outstanding SSH honeypot, but you need to learn how to modify the basic configuration of Cowrie. So it allows you to intercept and capture login activities, and it allows you to capture the passwords that the attacker may be using. So this can be used for annoyance and for attribution. This is a screenshot from a real live Cowrie instance. So we have this, and this is from a real attack. The attacker got in, and the first command they ran is init IP table stop. They changed the permissions on nohup, kill all, rm, and wget. They made a directory called Etsy plugin. They created a Linux time binary. They ran the Linux time binary, and they deleted the earlier versions. Let's spend a couple of seconds and talk about threat intelligence, shall we? The first thing about threat intelligence is now I have the name of the malware right there. So it's not malware that hits somebody else's environment. This is the name of the malware that the attacker is dropping in my environment. I also have the IP address that is hosting that malware and the port that is hosting that malware for that particular attacker, right? I also have the full directory where it's pulling down that malware. This, ladies and gentlemen, is actually, wait a minute, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? All right, here we go. Let's start over, shall we? So this is what Keepo and Cowrie logs look like. Sorry, took me a second. And with this, you can see that we have captured the name of the malware as Linux time. We have captured the IP address that is hosting the malware and the port that it's using to connect and pull down the malware. And we've pulled down the name of the directories that malware is being hosted out of. So one of the things I talk about is this is truly threat intelligence, right? This is an SSH honeypot. It's not threat intelligence against somebody else's environment. It's threat intelligence against my environment right now, exactly what I am seeing. And I'm getting it hot and off the press that is out there. So the question was, I am lost. How would it work on a production server that hosts a web server, for instance? When a customer is trying to access a website and sends the request, the thing is you wouldn't run it on port 443. So that IP tables rule, that's a range. You can work it around the actual 443, so the real traffic actually goes there as well. So does that make sense, Frenchman? The other thing that you can do is don't run it on a production server. Run it on another IP address in your environment that is another IP address that is just dedicated to that particular one as well. Yeah, sorry about the slides, everybody. My bad. Does AC Hunter have this built in? No, AC Hunter has Honey user accounts and Honey files built into it as well. So there we go. All right, so hopefully that answers some of your questions on how you can set this up. So this is SSH honeypots and what we would run. So would you run Cowrie in the enterprise? Dionea, kind of. Dionea isn't a full RDP honeypot. We're actually going to be releasing a tool from Mike Felch called Rogue RDP, where you can create a full RDP server. And as soon as the attacker attaches themselves to that RDP server, it mounts a bidirectional share and you get access to the attacker's computer system on this as well. We stand up a dedicated server, aren't we leaving the prod server available? It depends on how you configure your VLAN. So one of the things you can do in your DMZ, is establish it as a private VLAN. So there's no connectivity. The other thing you can do is just stand it up in the cloud and have it associated with your domain so it's not even on the production server. So collecting commands is really helpful to determine what the bad individuals are looking for. Are they just trying to set up a very basic backdoor? Are they trying to do a targeted attack? Are they after user IDs, passwords? Do they have compromised credentials that are out there? This is a tool that can answer that. So if we see a series of failed login attempts for like Bryce, Strand, Mick, Mike, Ethan, Lawrence, Paul, Larry, and those are legitimate user accounts, we're going to treat that attacker differently than we would somebody trying to log in with admin, root, Tor, and things like that as well. All right, that brings us to the next lab. All right, let's go to it over here. We're going to be running the Cowrie lab right here. So you're basically going to cd into the Cowrie directory. You're going to start Cowrie. You're going to make sure its status is running, make sure twist D is running. Then you're going to SSH to the Cowrie system and view its logs. Now you can log in if you want. Try to log in as root with a password of like 1234. It'll allow you to log in to Cowrie. Just give me a second. Excuse me. All right. And then you can see what it's like to log into the server. Now I have some things. What happens when you log in with a valid user ID combo? Example user database file is there. What happens when you exit the session? There's some solid IOCs that detect this as a honeypot. Can you change them? And if you can change these things, let us know on Discord. So we got a question. Off topic today's discussion, but that's where we go. What is the best practice for setting up traps like Spider Trap? Why is it not ideal to set up within your organization's infrastructure? Spider Trap would be one that you would set up. Anything that does a callback, like a document or a honey document, those you'd want to be a little bit more careful on that as well. Are these things actively maintained and fixed? Yeah, some of them are, some of them aren't. And that's one of the reasons why VLT, I'm trying to get people that'll help me maintain or fork these projects and get it running. The version of Cowrie that you're running is actually updated to Python 3. So this one we did update. All right, everybody. So let's get rolling with this lab. It's going to take us up to and through the break. We resume in about 25 minutes. So, are you ready to get started? Make sure that everyone's got this. God, why do I freak people out no matter what I do? I can't win, folks. I'm trying hard to not panic people, but yet here we are panicking people yet again. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to CD into the Cowrie directory. Like so. There we go. And then we're going to start Cowrie. Now notice we're not running Cowrie as root. And by default, Cowrie starts on port 2222. Now I've got a question. What is the normal port that SSH runs on? As I'm checking Cowrie, it's running at, runs on 22. How would I get the traffic? This is kind of tying in to the previous lab. How could I get the traffic on port 22 to actually get redirected to port 2222? Yeah, IP tables pre-routing. Excellent. Very, very, very good. I knew that you all were the smartest class I ever had. So we've got our Cowrie is listening and we're ready to go. Now we're ready to log into that thing. The first thing I want to do is actually get the logs for Cowrie, just copying and pasting. So we're going to CD into that log directory. Let me zoom in a little bit because here we're going to have to get this. Does that sound a bit condescending? I think it probably does, right? All right. And we're going to tail out the Cowrie log. There we go. And I can actually do tail -F to keep it going like that. And now let's actually do some connections to the Cowrie system. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect on port 2222. Let's do this. Let's do SSH, and we're just going to do 127.0.0.1 on port 2222. I got to do, sorry, it's not Netcat. There we go. All right. So we get a certificate error, and we're going to enter in the password. Just going to type in some gibberish here. More gibberish. Gibberish intensifies. Then I'm going to hit enter. And it takes a few seconds for it to come back and say, hey, your password was wrong on that system. But if we go back over here, you're able to see that this is my hacky password that I tried to log in with, right? So if we look at it, we have somebody tried to log in with a password of gibberish, and then they tried again to log in with a password of gibberish. So what you would want to do is you would want to capture these logs and parse them to see if there's actually valid user accounts. But let's actually try to log in with a standard account. So I'm going to try to log in as root now, root. I'm going to log in with a password of 12345. All right, now I'm logged in, right? So now I'm logged into this system. And if I run like ls or uname -a, I'm actually getting some responses from the server, like who is currently logged in, all of these different things, because it's emulating what this SSH server does. Now, the problem for me, and I think for a lot of people, is this is all stuff that is well known for Keepo, right? So if I look at this SSH fingerprint, that is actually in a file. Did anybody find the file for the SSH key fingerprint where you can edit it, or the config? Where do you actually change the SSH RSA key fingerprint? Where do you do it? See if people can find it, because we had some people that found it. They were treating it as a challenge. But then there's actually a bunch of different commands, like what is the output of the uname -a command and things of that nature, right? So that's the honeypot, and the attacker is stuck in this honeypot as well. So after a while, the attacker realizes that they can't do much in this SSH honeypot, and they're just going to exit, right? So they'll just exit out of the honeypot at that point, and then their connection is done. Hey, I've got something cool. So Black Hills Information Security recently hacked Google. Do you want me to show you how we hacked Google? Anyone interested in that? Okay. So if I SSH, give me an IP address for Google. What we got is actually a password. Anyone have 8.8.8.8, right? So we actually broke into Google, and we got the password for Google, and here I am logging into it. There we go. So this is me actually logged into 8.8.8.8, which is interesting that Google is running an old version of their Linux kernel on this particular system, which I think is kind of funny on it as well. I can log into another system. Let me do SSH at 8.8.9.9. I can log into that system because they're using the exact same password for all of these systems. I know it seems weird, but they're just reusing the exact same password again and again and again and again. Like, seriously, you would think that Google would have better practices than what they have. So here's me logging into 8.8.9.9. See, there we go. So I'm logged in. So give me a line from the Hotel California. Like, what is the line that actually applies to this? Anyone? Got several people typing. Yeah, you can check out any time you like. The FBI is coming, but you can never leave. You see, if I go back to my log directory over here, after I logged into my system where I ran the exit command, Keepo never dropped the connection. So instead, what it did is it dropped me into another session, leading me to believe that I was still, or that I exited out of the system, and I'm now logged into my own computer system. So as soon as I tried to SSH into 8.8.8.8, it was able to capture that user ID and password. And in this situation, the password for 8.8.8.8 is, as you can tell, right? So I was able to log into the system. So I've never left the actual honeypot, which is something that I love about this tool. And this gets you into some, I don't want to say it's a gray area per se, but this gets you into a place with these honeypots, and you will absolutely capture the passwords for other systems that the attacker has access to. Absolutely, we'll be able to do that, right? So if I Control-C out of this and I go back here, if I CD into the opt Cowrie honey FS system, this is the file system for the Cowrie system, and you can actually start modifying the directory contents of that file system right here. So you can see that we have the etc directory. You can change these different things like the host.com post name, init tab, issue, message of the day, resolve.com, and shadow. And you can also go into the proc file system where you can see what are all the different network connections on the system. So you can make it look more like a real system. You can also go into the binary directories. And in here, you have a number of different tools that you can use to create dynamically the file system as well. So go back, etc. And then you've got, oops, that was not what I wanted. You can access the user database and things of that nature. So you really have a lot of flexibility where you can change how Cowrie responds. So when people run these different commands, it will give you different responses, making the detection of this honeypot far more difficult. All right, so let me share my slides back out. Here we go. Let's keep going. So we already did that. And now there's a lot of other tools that do this, right? Like the whole Cowrie thing is for SSH. Dave Kennedy and the people at TrustedSec, they created a tool called Artillery. And what this does is it spans up honeyports for RPC, SMB, Microsoft SQL, VNC, and it actually gives you the ability to generate alerts as well. One of the problems with Artillery is the ports themselves are very predictable. It always brings up the exact same 5 or 6 ports, but you can edit that. You can actually modify it so it only brings up the ports that you want to look at. The other thing that Artillery has that I like quite a bit is it also has the capability to monitor files. So if an attacker or somebody executes or modifies a specific file, it gives you the ability to actually shut that down. All right, more evil web servers. So we can expand on this spider trap idea and we can extend it into other things. Another tool that we want to talk about briefly that I like quite a bit is by Ben Jackson called Web Labyrinth. This is another one of those tools that I want to get updated as quickly as I possibly can in this course, just because I kind of, like I said, I really want to get to the point where we're redoing a large number of, I want to redo a large number of the different cyber deception tools that are open sourced in the community as well. So he called it Web Labyrinth and it's David Bowie approved, and it does some cool things like it gently tells Googlebot to go away on that as well. Yes, I know you sent me an email, Mike. Resend me another one. I lost it in the 250 that I get a day, and I'm trying to pin it. But I have a couple of people that are willing to kind of jump in and do this. So I apologize. That's on me. So some of the code that's in this is you can spin the wheel of errors. And what this does is it does a random chance choosing a random number between 0 and 100. So imagine a 100-sided D&D dice and it rolls it. If that dice comes up with a value of 16, it says 404 is not found. If it comes back to a value of 23, it says that it's forbidden. If it hits 42, it comes back and it says payment required, which is weird. The reason why it incorporates these is because a lot of the tools will actually try to request directories that don't exist intentionally and see if there's any variations of the in the responses that are coming back. The other thing that's really cool is by default, it's pulling the text from Alice in Wonderland, and you can change that text to be anything that you wanted it to be. Now, if you look closely inside of this text, it randomly chooses a word from the text in Alice in Wonderland and makes that a directory. So you can literally change out that text file to be anything that you want it to be. So you could reflect a whole bunch of cross-site scripting and SQL injection stuff back at the attacker. Now, it's not going to attack the attacker, but it increases the likelihood that an alert will be generated. So if you had every single response was cross-site scripting or SQL injection attack, something that you get from OWASP, like here, I'll show you. We can go to the OWASP cheat sheet. Here. And here's an evasion cheat sheet. You can literally copy and paste this. And what Web Labyrinth would do is start flipping all of these cross-site scripting strings back against the attacker. And the reason why you would want to do that is to kind of get around the subtlety of an alert being generated. In short, getting rid of the subtlety of any alerts being generated, because literally hundreds of alerts would be generated as soon as somebody tries to connect to it as well. So you can do snort rules too. You can put in a bunch of snort rules, like nothing like sending snort rules through your IDS system to make your IDS scream. All right, now we're getting into application-specific honeypots. These are honeypots that mimic very specific applications. You can get into like SCADA honeypots. And once again, you want to blend in with existing servers. Just hold on a second. Excuse me. And that is emulating various applications. I used to have a Cowrie or a Kipo lab in here. No, not Cowrie, Conpot. Getting too many C's and K's mixed up. But we had a Conpot lab. A Conpot changed some things and it broke a bunch of other things, but it's pretty cool anyway. But you can emulate SCADA devices, and you do that to blend in with a number of different servers. So you can set this up on the outside of the environment, and you can also set it up on the inside of the environment as an early warning. Now, there's a really, really good paper out there that's talking about how to modify Conpot so an attacker cannot detect it and say that this is in fact a honeypot. Because once again, tools like Nessus are on the lookout for honeypot systems. That's just kind of what they do. And what they do is they look at like the value for the facility name, Mauser facility, Technodrome and Siemens AG and a Venus 72. And what do we got? An SS7 ID is 881112222. So what you do is you modify those strings, and then your vulnerability assessment scanner will not detect it anymore as a honeypot. So yeah, a lot of the honeypots that you see online, actually, just give me a second. Let's look at some honeypots online. What do you say? Let's see if we can find some honeypots. We go to Chrome. There we go. Just give me a second to get logged into Shodan. Shodan. Go. Let me log in, and let me log in with Google. Just give me a second. Never mind the cat man behind the curtain. All right, I'm going to do a new share, and we're going to share out Shodan. If I do a search for SCADA like that, we're trying to find SCADA systems on the open internet. We are hunting SCADA systems. There we go. And it found 1,685 SCADA systems. Now, some of these SCADA systems that Shodan identified, like this one right here, this is Wind Telecommunications. It's running in Italy. And it says SCADA, Lucerna, domain name is SCADA. It's a Siemens system that you can log into. This one, it came back and it said in Kazakhstan, this one's actually a honeypot. And the reason why is this specific string is actually a known honeypot string as well. Here's another one that's pretty much the exact same thing. So these are people that are running honeypot systems, and they're not even modifying the actual default string. So we can look for one of these honeypot systems, and we can do a search on that string. Wait for it. Here we go. All right. So with this, most of these are honeypots, as you can see. So it's just an easy way to identify honeypots because people are lazy and they don't bother to randomize the strings at all. So we can change those things as well. All right. So we're going to get into some legal issues. Actually, I have a lab. I forgot. We have yet another lab to go through because reasons. Because I put in a bunch of labs in this class and I thought, you know what this class needs? Another lab. All right. So with this lab, what we're going to do is an application specific honeypot called Web Honeypot. And this particular honeypot is emulating an Outlook web access page, and it logs the attacks. So you're going to cd into the opt Outlook web access directory. You're going to start the OAPOT. Then you're going to cd into the directory, kick it up and running, and then you can open up a browser and you can put in user IDs and passwords. If you are running on a system with good memory, you can also start up Z attack proxy and launch the attack against the honeypot as well. But if your system's running a little bit sketch, you can just try to log into it. So this lab will take us about 15, 20 minutes for the people that do Zap, and then I'll do a quick walkthrough, and then we're going to get started on some legal issues. All right, get rolling. So that's really cool. The Chat GPT thing. I got to say, there's actually something deep down in my heart that makes me happy that Chat GPT was able to come up with. Isn't it weird that it basically came up with exactly what was in pretty close with what we had in this class? Interesting. You know what? F it. You know what I might do is just have ChatGPT rewrite all of the Python things that we have in this class, right? Just it needs to be in Python 3. I want something that scrapes a website and logs any and all connections that come to it. That's yes, somebody do that. Let's go to ChatGPT and let's do this in the class. What do we got here? This is from Scapy. This is an IP tables blocking script. So let's go to ChatGPT, folks, and let's see if we can get ChatGPT to generate a script that generates, scrapes a website for a honeypot and logs the connections coming in. So there, and then Will's like, damn it, there goes a job opportunity. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, we could just do that. We could do that as well. That's absolutely possible. I am sharing my screen. I've got a whole nother computer over here that I'm just looking at Discord. So when you're asking about what I'm looking at over here, I'm literally looking at the thing that you're yelling me at for sharing my screen. So it's just over here at Discord. So let's do it. Let's see what it does. But while we're waiting, we're going to start up a application specific honeypot. So here we go. We're going to CD into the OWA honeypot. And we're going to start Python 3 against the OWA honeypot like so. Like that. And now it's running on port 80 on this system. And I love how it starts up. It says, this is a development server. Do not use this in production ever, which I think is a good idea. Yeah, you probably don't want that to be set up. It gives us a helpful little URL that we can actually go to surf on to the system. So I'm going to go over to my Windows computer system like so. Let's see if it works. I wonder if I have, oh, it's port 80. Why does it have the 80? Probably doesn't need that, does it? Do I still have a firewall up and running? No. All right. Maybe you got the wrong IP address. Let's go ifconfig. This is the part where I try to find out if my lab is broken. No, it looks like it should be working. What the hell? Yeah, I don't know why. I'm missing something dead stupid simple right here. Copy. HTTP:/. Did anybody get this thing to work? It shouldn't be HTTPS, should it? Great. So does this make you feel a little bit better, by the way? Having a lab completely blow up in my face? I think I might know what the problem is. Yeah. So it's localhost, but I think that it does feel kind of good. Schadenfreude. So I think what's going on is I've been doing this, I've been running this VM for a while, and I'm willing to bet I have something listening on port 80 already somewhere else that's making go through with it. So I can put in a domain and username and try to sign in. And whenever I do that, the honeypot is going to record the actual authentication requests coming in to the system. So we can actually see the auth request coming in and what people put in. So we can put in a bunch of A's. I have a really hard time looking on that as well. Did we get a Python script? Let me see what we got here, folks. We got logging, threading, basic logging, direct connection, definition, the post open on any IP address coming in on port 5000. We've got a network connection coming in. It doesn't look like it's scraping on that as well. Oh, by the way, if you're stuck in that certain resolution in the OWASP lab, give me a second here. I'm going to pause my sharing. I'm going to show people the Cloud Lab real quick. So just give me a moment. I'm going to pause my sharing and I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to Gmail. You all can't see my screen, right? I can totally trust you on all that. Anyone? You can see my screen, or can you see my Google account?
Negative. We cannot see your Google account.
Okay, that's good. All right. We go to mail. There it is. All righty. So just give me a moment and I'm going to get logged in. I'm going to show you all something pretty cool. Cloud Lab. we go. I'm going to get logged into Cloud Lab in a student account. Show you guys what Cloud Lab looks like. And I'm pretty excited about Cloud Lab, actually. Now let's close the email that has my email address and password for Cloud Lab. Here we go. I'm going to remember. All right, so now I'm logged in. Let's allow the resuming of the sharing. Let's go here and let's share out my Cloud Lab application. All right, so whenever you get into Cloud Lab, you see that there's a bunch of images. This is still beta. I'm going to start up the anti-siphon gold image because that's the image that we're using in this class on that. So here we go. So it's going to start that image up. And if you go over here to running copies, it's currently creating that image. So it takes a little while for that image to spool up because it's literally starting an entire new system. But once you get in, with the resolution, you all were talking about the resolution, you can change the resolution right here. So you can set it up to responsive, which means fast, but you can also set it up to a larger resolution, or you can go full screen with your resolution. So if you don't like the 800 by 600 resolution, just simply change your resolution to something else. And you can see that my Windows system is starting up. Does that help with that? So if you can't get into Z attack proxy, or the resolution just doesn't look very good, that's the way that you can kick the resolution up. And I'm kind of getting to the point now where we've got enough people coming in. If other people want to get access to the Cloud Lab, you can send me an email at john@blackhillsinfosec.com, and I can get some more people in it. We're stress testing it a little bit. You just resend me an email. I would check your spam and everything. Seriously, I don't know what's going on with your account in particular. It could be that God hates you for no specific reason. I mean, I read the book of Job. He kind of pulls jokes on you, but maybe you're a cautionary tale to others. But I will try to get you in here as quickly as possible. So no, that whole entire comment of what I said can be taken in so many different ways that can piss so many people off. So please, let's not bring Job into this. All right, so I can go full screen on this, and now I can log in, and now I have a little bit better resolution that we can do. Just tell me all your thoughts on God, because I'm on my way to. Okay, sorry. 80s hit, bad, or 90s. That was a 90s hit. That was there. So this allows you to get a little bit better resolution on that. All right, so how's that? So does that help with the resolution issues? Okay, there we go. Let's go back to the VM. So we have the logs. Oh, now we're going to do final countdown. It's the final countdown. Here we go. I don't even know what time it is. What am I doing on time? We got plenty of time. We're doing awesome. We're doing awesome. By the way, do you all want to hear a religious joke while we're waiting? Yeah, I love this, right? Because anytime you talk about politics or religion, do you want me to tell a political joke and then a religious joke? All right. So we're going to start with a political joke. So years ago, this is an old political joke because most of you won't actually get the joke of Ma, where's my pa? Gone to the White House. Ha ha ha. You won't get that joke. Or Blaine, he's a pain, the accountant and a liar from the state of Maine. Anybody get that joke? You might have to Google it, but it kills in political science circles. So years ago, whenever you had Bill Clinton going up against Bob Dole, Bill Clinton did this thing that was unheard of, absolutely completely freaked the entire world out, because Bill Clinton went on MTV and he answered questions to the youth of America, also known as the worst generation ever, i.e. my generation, Generation X. Sorry, y'all. If you don't believe that my generation is the worst generation ever, go see the movie or the documentary Woodstock '99. And that sums us up, right? And we gave you Smash Mouth and Limp Bizkit, so you're welcome. And he goes on this, and he's answering all these questions and all these different things. And one of the questions that he got was boxers or briefs, right? So boxers or briefs was the question that Bill Clinton got. And to this day, I still don't remember exactly what his answer was, because I don't spend a lot of time thinking about Bill Clinton in his underwear. But they asked the same question to Bob Dole during that election cycle. And Bob Dole thought about that question long and hard. And he finally looked at the camera and said, depends. All right. So that is my political jokes. I can't get away with any modern political jokes because I piss off a huge percentage of people. So now on to the religious joke. And this is a true story. This, in fact, actually happened. And this is where people's butt pucker factor starts to go off the charts, because religion is something you should never joke about ever under any circumstances. So let's do that now. So years ago, whenever we lived down in Denver, my wife worked at a structural engineering firm. And she had this Christmas party, and all the family members showed up to this Christmas party, and I showed up to this Christmas party. And I somewhat remember my wife telling me, hey, please don't offend anybody at this party. And I'm like, you mean no politics and no religion jokes? She's like, exactly. Don't do those things. And I'm like, okay, got it. So I sit down at the table, and we're at this big round table with a whole bunch of people that she works with. And we're sitting next to these two people, Namita and Sanjeev. And they're just really, really super cool. We're hanging out with them, having a good time. And the waiter comes around and says, would you like the fish, the chicken, or the steak? And I say, I would very much like the steak, good sir. And I make a joke. I said, when people drive through the countryside with children, a lot of children lean out the window. They see cows and they go, moo. Not my kids. My kids, whenever we're driving in the countryside and they see a cow, they go, because that's the sound they make on Daddy's grill. I think that's funny. Namita and Sanjeev, who were from India, looked at me and they were like, dude, we're from India. We consider cows to be sacred. We find that joke offensive. And I thought about this and I panicked, and my wife is like cracking my hand and squeezing it. And I look at them and said, no, it's cool. It's cool. It's fine. I'm Catholic. We eat our God every Sunday. Namita and Sanjeev looked at me, burst out laughing, and said, we want to party with that guy. Namita and Sanjeev are still very good friends of ours to this day. So they're pretty cool. And they got this place called Madras Studio down in Denver, Colorado, where they do all kinds of really cool dancing things. It's just absolutely amazing. So there you go. That's my religious joke, everyone. Let's keep going. Attribution. So before we go into this, irony comedy. So legal issues, when we're looking at it, sometimes there's this big disconnect between what we think is legal and what the law actually says. So when we talk about cyber deception and we talk about all of these different things, we have this, oh God, now we're getting into religion. Is it fake? Is it real? Is it a social engineering tool? Is it opiates for the masses? Here, I'm going to give you the best quote ever. At the beginning of Neil Gaiman's book, American Gods, the lead character is asleep and he meets a buffalo, a huge godlike buffalo. And the buffalo comes up to this character and says, believe. And he says, in what? And the buffalo says, in everything. So be nice to people for their beliefs, because if I pick long enough, we all will find beliefs that we don't like. So let's just be nice to each other and make jokes, because jokes are fun as long as it's in good nature and it's not a bad joke, because there's good jokes and there's bad jokes. All right. So when we're going through this, I thought I did. I already addressed that issue, Megan. Can you hit up Security Shrimp? I thought I addressed how to change the browser resolution already. I agree with Wild Sean. Yep. Respect everyone, but fear no one. It shouldn't be in the VM. I'm talking about on the cloud version. You should be able to change it. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Only size in the browser and the dropdown? Okay, we're going to have to hit that maybe later. Send me screenshots, because I'd like to see what the dropdown says in performance. That would be awesome. All right, so we want to go through some case law and kind of walk through what we see in case law and what are some things that honestly tend to surprise people. So I'm going to give you some legal stories, right? Sysadmin hacks into a threatening machine. So this is a story of Jerome Hackenkamp, who has absolutely, without question, the single most unfortunate name for a person that is under arrest for hacking that you could possibly have. So Jerome Hackenkamp was at a university, and this particular, I'm going to delete that one. No, that's probably a little too far. So Jerome Hackenkamp was at a university and he was hacking constantly, like breaking into tons of different websites. And the FBI saw that these attacks were coming from the university IP address range. And they told the systems administrator at this university, hey, watch out. There's totally someone hacking from your network range. And the systems administrator was able to identify that there was a series of hacks that were coming from a specific dorm, and notice that the IP address was constantly shifting and changing. He was able to tie it down to the MAC address, the specific dorm room, and called the FBI and said, hey, FBI, I know what room it's in. I'm going to go in and make sure it's the right computer. The FBI said, no, dear God, for the love of all that's holy, do not do that. Wait for us to get a warrant and we will come there and do it properly. Systems administrator is like, yeah, nah. And went right into the room, Jerome Hackenkamp's room, without a warrant, got access to the room, logged into Jerome's computer system with the user ID and password of temp, and was able to gather evidence that was used against the student, specifically IP address and MAC address, and then he logged off. So here is the question. Was the evidence the administrator got admissible in court? And with that, we're going to take a 10-minute break while you put in your answers, and I will come back with the shocking conclusion of Jerome Hackenkamp versus the United States of America.
So, how is everybody doing? Enjoying the class and the jokes? Maybe a little nervous. Good. Thanks, Jenny. This is one of my favorite classes to sit in on. I think Jason's too, because you can tell how much John loves it.
Yes. I think John really loves all of his classes, though.
Yeah, but this one I think is just one of his favies.
Yes. And for those of you curious, the link I posted in the student lobby is legit. I promise you, I wouldn't do you guys dirty like that.
It's totally a fish.
Totally not.
Did you put this is not a fish?
I did not.
Well, I mean,
I probably should have. Maybe then more people would have trusted it.
yeah.
Dang it. And I started thinking about it after I posted it, and I'm like, man, I can't even tell these guys that I'm not black hat, because literally the only hat I wear is a black on black Boston Red Sox hat. It's the only hat I wear. So I can't say I'm a white hat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a black hat, but it's the only hat I wear. So
I'm not going to do you dirty. Guy, he's going to do you dirty. I agree for blah. That is absolute facts.
I haven't tried to be a comedian yet, but my kids don't seem to laugh at my jokes, so I don't think I would go very far.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm hilarious, but my kids as well don't find me amusing.
For the record, though, I did click on the link before I posted it to you guys. So
you guys are all hacked. No big. We're good. Totes good.
I can't respond. I got nothing.
Yeah. So did John go through Cyber Range yet today? I know he had said yesterday he was going to, but I don't know if he's
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We might want to room. Okay. For those of you that paid the higher levels, you should have already received the access. If you haven't, send me a message
$295 to $395 would have gotten you 6 months, and
mhm,
full price would have gotten you a year.
yes.
So if you paid $295 or more and you do not have your access to Cyber Range yet, please message Megan, and she will get you
Oh.
taken care
me, the innkeeper, a
of.
message.
Yes.
And it's only $30 a month if you want to subscribe to it as well.
Correct. Yes. And as John will tell you, we do not make any money on that.
Yeah.
That is what it costs us for each user every month. So
Yes. To subscribe to the Cyber Range, I'll put the link in the chat real quick.
what's my name again? Oh, sorry. No. $295 to $395 is 6 months of Cyber Range.
Mhm.
$595 or what is it $595 or higher? Full price.
It's $575.
Okay, sorry, $575. You get 1 full year. So if you paid $295 or higher and you have not received your access to Cyber Range yet, send Megan the Innkeeper a message and she will get you taken care of.
Has Discord been slow for you today?
No, I don't think it's Discord. I think it's my brain.
Yeah, well, my brain's always a little on the slow side.
You said it, not me.
Well, can you
Just
tell
remember
that,
that, everybody.
Jason and I are like brother and sister a little bit?
Yeah, if you guys spend a little bit more time with us on like pre-shows and stuff, you'll see that we actually are like a family here.
Yes, we are definitely.
Yeah. John and Erica are mom and dad, and everybody else is the kids.
Yes.
Yes. CJ's I almost said it. I almost said CJ's grandpa, but I'll take that
no.
back. CJ's uncle.
This is recorded. I'm not saying nothing.
Nope, not a family. Not a family. No, no, no.
I just said all I said was
No.
Jason and I are
No.
like brother and sister. That's all
That's
I said.
fine. That's fine. But I heard Jason from across the room.
Yeah.
Families turn into cults, like the Mason family, not a cult. So we're a tribe. We all work together.
Yeah,
we take
that's
care of
right.
each other.
See?
But we
There
have
we go.
no problem kicking some people out of the tribe if we have to.
Yes. The pirate ship. It's a pirate ship.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not. There's a fine line between family and cult. I always think of family and the amount of like crap that people put up with in their family.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't want that.
Yes,
It's
yes.
funny. No one questions the cult leader. I had 2 people call me today, and they were like, dude, I want you to know that you crossed the line, you screwed up. And I used to get very frustrated about that, where people would come up and, how dare they criticize me, the owner of Black Hills
I.
Information Security, not me. And I realized it's a good thing, because it means I'm still not a cult leader at that point.
Yeah.
By the way, we have all these matching clothing outfits that you can purchase
Yes.
in our store. Probably going to have doggy outfits here soon.
I think they should be dog pajamas. That's just my
Dog
suggestion.
pajamas, PJs.
Yes.
All right. So let's go ahead and keep rolling. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. The white stripes of Black Hills Information Security. So there we go. And so we're going to talk about this Jerome Hackenkamp thing. So Jerome Hackenkamp, turns out that all that evidence was admissible in court. Yeah. He went in without a warrant. Yeah. By the way, you can totally come to my house and eat my food and go to Wild West Hack and Fest, take my pen testing class. We're limited to 40 seats in my pen testing class. So it was admissible in court. The reason why it was admissible in court is because the systems administrator was not working on behalf, wasn't an agent of law enforcement. Number one. Number two, The judge had a bunch of weird things associated with this that I somewhat disagree with. When the systems administrator logged in, the only thing that he checked was the IP address and the MAC address to confirm that it was the MAC address of the system that was launching the attacks. Didn't go after Jerome Hackenkamp's personal files at all. So he said there was no violation of privacy. Once again, totally disagree with that, but that's how the judge ruled. The other thing that the judge ruled in that particular situation was the exigency of the circumstances were in play because the systems administrator was worried that the data would be deleted. I also disagree with that as well. So, but this does kind of show us some things, right? Like the judge was very much like, oh, IP address and MAC address, there's nothing private about those things. Wait, it gets worse. Susan versus Absolute Software. Susan Clements Jeffrey was a substitute teacher, and she was doing substitute teaching things, which is basically babysitting a bunch of high schoolers in well view of a camera in a classroom, because all classrooms have cameras these days. And one of the students came up to her and said, hey, do you want to buy a MacBook Pro for $50? And she thought to herself, wow, this sounds totes legit. Of course, I want to buy a MacBook Pro for $50. What possibly could go wrong with a $50 MacBook Pro? They made the sale, and I'm not making this up, at a school bus stop. Like seriously, that is a thing that happened. So they go to the school bus stop. He sells her the notebook computer, which was stolen from another school district, because of course it was. She got it home and immediately started using the computer system for personal things, which included cyber sexting her boyfriend. Now, that computer system had like LoJack software for computers installed on it. So the school district, the police department, and Absolute Software, the name of the company that had that software installed on that computer, they were able to take multiple pictures of Susan Clements Jeffries in various states of undress and sexual activity. Susan Clements Jeffrey found out about this and thought to herself, oh, hell no, lawsuit. And the lawsuit subsequently happened. Now, I want you to think about this. Was the computer system Susan Clements Jeffries? No, it was not. The actual owners were the systems administrators of the school district. Did she have a right to privacy? This is interesting. Judge Walter Rice ruled it is one thing to cause a stolen computer to report its IP address or geographical location. In an effort to track it down, it is something entirely different to violate federal wiretapping laws by intercepting the electronic communications of the person using the stolen laptop. This is crazy, all right? The reason why this is crazy is because what Judge Walter Rice is saying is that criminals have a right to privacy, even in things that are stolen. Okay, does that make sense? So I'll give you an example. You have a lot of people that like squat in rental property, right? They go into a rental property and then they refuse to leave and they stop paying rent. There are cases where the owners of the property have installed cameras on the inside of those houses where these people were living rent-free in violation of their contract, and judges have ruled that those people still have a right to privacy. That's, wow, that's kind of crazy spills, but it did give us this bright, shiny line. It said IP address, geolocation information, which kind of ties up with MAC address and IP address. See, a lot of this actually goes back to something with the Brandeis Court years and years and years ago, because we love talking about court case law from the 60s. There was a case, totally can't remember the name of the case because I don't memorize those things for some crazy reason as much as I try. But in the case, it was a child pornography case. There was an individual, this is the case that kind of began the entrapment by police. Police had this guy in their town. He was kind of creepy. So they sent him a letter because it was the 60s and they said, hey, do you want some child pornography? The guy responded back and wrote, dear good sir, madam, no, I am not interested in your child pornography, and sent that letter back. They responded back and they said, it's really good child pornography. And then he said, okay. Once again, just for the record, law enforcement can't like entice people to commit crimes. Okay. But that's not the really interesting thing about this story, even though that's an anecdotal thing. What's also really interesting about the story is they sent this individual actual child pornography. It went into his mailbox. And as soon as it was in his mailbox, they arrested him, specifically under the Comstock Act, or one of the acts in the Comstock Acts. By the way, Comstock Act is a completely crazy thing. The gentleman Comstock that it was named after, read history on him. His Wikipedia article is nuts. But you cannot do that, right? So whenever you're looking at these things, it has to do with possession. Just because something was in his mailbox doesn't mean that he actually possessed it, because you take ownership of something once you move it into your home. So a bunch of laws actually came out of that, and that kind of goes to this. So you have a right to privacy, even if you're a criminal in these situations, which is absolutely crazy. No, he didn't open it, Jenny. He didn't open it. They merely put it in his mailbox, and because it was in his mailbox, they arrested him for possession. All right. Another example. This is all the way back in 1999. The World Trade Organization website had a denial of service attack brought against it. And when they did that, I don't think it was the feds. I think in the Brandeis court case, it was local police officers. So think of, don't think feds. Different. All right. So DOS attack was hitting the World Trade Organization, and Connexion basically reflected the attack back to the eHippies website, which it was a simpler time back then. Attackers literally had their own websites running, and Connexion was not prosecuted for this. Now, that's not the same as saying it's legal. It's just saying they were not prosecuted. They also logged over 10,000 unique IP addresses and things like that. So that's kind of crazy. This one, though, is really interesting. This one was actually case precedent for the way that they deal with a lot of botnets in this particular situation as well. It probably is. I can't remember. Was Earl Comstock a bad person in Cryptonomicon? I can't remember. There was Root, and that's an amazing book by them. So yeah, probably. Yeah, Comstock was bad, no good dude. He really was. Multiple people committed suicide because of Comstock going through their mail. He was working for the post office, looking for obscene material, and people would be caught with it. He would press charges, publicly humiliate them, and a large number of people killed themselves because of it. So not a good guy. Not even remotely close. So this is a civil lawsuit in 2010 that really became one of the case law that kind of deals with how we work with malware and botnets today. So what happened is there was an ex parte temporary restraining order against the people that were running the WalletAct botnet. And an ex parte restraining order basically means the person that it's against is not present. You don't expect them to show up. So if you're trying to shut down the servers for the WalletAct botnet, you went and bought pizza? Boys got to eat. And you will not expect the people that run the botnet to show up to a federal court and be like, here, we oppose this and we want our botnets to continue to run in perpetuity, good sir, ma'am. That's not going to happen. They're not going to show up to court. So this restraining order was put in place, but then how do you do it? So Microsoft worked with the United States Marshals to degrade the botnet. They went through and they said that they basically black holed a bunch of their DNS servers, took over the different DNS servers, a bunch of really, really super cool things like that. But they also took quote unquote other technical measures. And yeah, that Aaron Schwartz quote, that one kind of, that one's, yeah, it's too soon. So other technical measures, what they did is they actually pushed out a patch that allowed them to reach into these various computer systems. And they were able to then remove the malware, which is weird because basically Microsoft was taking control of computer systems without authorization for the explicit purpose to remove malware from those computer systems. Now, today they embed Windows Defender. It makes them a lot easier to do this. There's a terms of use that you have that you sign on to that gives them access to your computer for whatever the hell they want. And yes, they work with law enforcement on those types of things. Totally different conversation that we need to have some point in the future, but not now. But I want to get into how does a law like this actually play? Because the United States is doing an ex parte temporary restraining order against computer systems that are globally dispersed. How does that happen? All right. So this is interesting. This gets into some maritime law. According to maritime law, you can open fire on boats in two situations. The first situation that you can open fire on boats and not be held liable for the damage to the boats is if they're slave traders. And I know that a lot of people are like, slave traders? What is this, the 1800s? No, there's actually a lot of studies that say that there's more slaves on the planet today than there was before the Civil War. And yes, they are absolutely shipping people around. So it's a huge issue still. So that's number one. The other group, which is more applicable to this, is pirates. So I want you to think of it this. Let's say I steal a yacht. I decide to go evil. I have something wrong in my head and I'm not doing really well. I decide to go evil and I steal Jeff Bezos' yacht. Right? And I've got Jeff Bezos' yacht and I'm just like rolling around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. And I'm like taking over other ships. And you happen to have a destroyer, right? And you sink my ship. Jeff Bezos has no legal recourse to charge you for the damage that was created to his ship because I had taken it over as a pirate. Some of the groups that I've worked with, like SIPRI, the Stockholm Institute for Peace, we've had conversations, international maritime law that basically revolves around that. When someone's computer system is compromised, that is no longer really their computer system, but it has been pirated. So that's how these types of laws seem to be going moving forward as well. So look at the login banner that we have. We talked about this earlier. There's a lot in warning banners about permission and what you're going to do to computer systems that join that network. Sorry, I've got to try to do some things here real quick. There we go. Get down a little bit more. There we go. That seems to be better. There's things like it says, we can gather information from your computer system. We can get IP address information. We can check to see whether or not your antivirus is up to date, whether your patches are up to date. We can run all of these things against your computer system before we grant your computer system access to our network. That is literally what pre-authentication checks do for OpenVPN and Windows 2008 network access protection for remote access to computers, remote access to server resources. So yeah, we can do this stuff. Not only can we do this stuff, but we can totally do this stuff legally in many environments as well. And it's not like we're hacking the hackers. It's not like we're trying to get access to data that the hackers have in weird, nefarious ways. We're literally doing the exact same damn thing that every single one of your VPNs for corporate America does, where it checks and quarantines your system to validate that it's a good system connecting in as well. By the way, that James Brown, I can't remember where that was. That James Brown concert, I have seen that concert. I'm just going to throw this out there. That is one of the single greatest concerts I have ever seen in my entire life. That dude was straight fire. And I miss him. So, all right. So yeah, we can do callbacks for things like software updates. We can do callbacks and do validation of license keys for the Microsoft Genuine Advantage. We can do tracking software inside of phones. Look at Android. How many apps that you have that are asking for access to your call history, accessing for your contacts and your location? Does Chess need all of that? I mean, really? At least with Apple, you can click request the application not to track this information for me. You can do that, right? We're not talking about hacking at all. We're literally talking about things that happen every single day. So how exactly can these things go wrong and very bad things, trademark, actually happen to us? This gets into unintended consequences. Easily accessible malware on a website, full attacks against an attacker's IP address and crashing a system. This is a repetitive slide, kind of a chiasm, getting into like big words that I probably shouldn't use, where we're repeating a theme within this class. You need to be careful. So the hallmarks of legality that we want to see as much as we possibly can is, number one, discuss. Have conversations with people inside your organization and document those conversations with people inside your organization so you can show that you're actually thinking about this rationally. That's how we're protecting ourselves, right? Document what you're doing, plan what you're doing, consult with others. One of the things that you need to do, because this is a new area of law, is don't hide. If you're hiding what you are doing, then it shows that what you're doing is something that you think is wrong. And the courts will take that into account, especially if this is new case law that we're working on, consciousness of guilt, right? Also, don't be evil, right? This is a uniquely Western thing that I see again and again and again, where if we think that someone is bad, we can do bad things to that person. Look at a lot of movies, comedies especially, where there's an evil boss, where there's an evil person. And in that movie, because that person is the bad person, the good people do horrific things to that bad person, but it's okay because they're bad. In the judicial system, that's not how things work, okay? So it may seem like fun to get persistent, long-term access to somebody's computer system. That can get you into trouble. Home Alone is a great example, right? So if you look at Home Alone, Kevin McAllister, right? He sets a bunch of traps, right? Setting up alarms in your house, and even defending in a lot of states, if somebody comes in and you defend yourself and you shoot someone, in a lot of states, I don't want to say that's okay, but let's say it's acceptable, okay? What is not acceptable, and what Kevin McAllister did totally, is set up tons of traps, like bars swinging down, cans of paint landing on people's heads, setting up fire traps, locking people into rooms. You can't do that. All right. So please don't do that. It also gets into ethics. It's not always the exact same thing as legality, but it's absolutely things that we need to take into consideration. We need to be careful of. We want to make sure that we're not becoming the victim or becoming the people that we're trying to protect against. And with that, that stops where we're going to be for today. So when we come back tomorrow, I'm going to give a thoughtful and well-reasoned debate on the AC/DC law, because house bells. So we will talk about this more tomorrow, but right now we are in the Ask Me Anything. So at this point, everybody, ask me anything. Cyber Range. Excellent. Thank you so much. So let's go into MetaCTF and let's show you guys. Here we go. Logging in. And by the way, we can get you all a link to the Cyber Range. And yes, we do charge for the Cyber Range. And one of the reasons why we charge for the Cyber Range is because I can, I can't just give it away for free. It's unfortunate, but we actually pay for seat licenses with MetaCTF. I'm all about not making money, but whenever we get into situations where we start actively losing money, it gets very, very hard to keep up in volume. You may want to lose some money every once in a while for a couple of people, but if you're sitting at the situation where we're giving out, we're losing $30 a month for 1,000 people, yeah, that's bad. What is the last offensive nation state adversary operation you did with the NSA? The last one I did wasn't with the NSA. Hold on. The last one I did with law enforcement was actually tracking bad people in bad places so people could take care of those bad people. And I want to talk about that for just a couple of seconds, just kind of making it clear. In my head, I know what I got to level up. Thank you very much, Techie B. I know that what I did probably helped save people's lives. I know that actually did. I still don't sleep well about it. One of the groups that I did some work with, I actually got an opportunity to one of the things I worked in ended up in the news. And I actually trained a lot of people at the NSA, Crispy, in cyber offensive operations. And no, it still haunts me. I know it's one of those things. A lot of people are like, well, I want to bring down bad people. That sounds fine up until the point that you do it. And even if they're bad people, if you see videos of like their cars exploding, it still is a bad thing. So yeah, it sucks. All right, so let's go back to the cyber range because that's funner. And a lot of people, just so you know, they glorify these types of things, working in intelligence, working with DoD. And I genuinely feel like what I did made the world a better place, but it does haunt me. So I can go into the problems associated with this. And we have all kinds of different categories of problems in the cyber range. Ooh, so many activities, right? So we have all of these awesome activities, and you can choose which category you want to look at. So if I want to learn binary exploitation, we have all of these different things in binary exploitation that start at 125 points all the way up to, hundreds of points, right? So you can kind of start at the beginning and it works its way up. If you want to learn web exploitation, we have a bunch of challenges starting with some very, very, very basic web application challenges. And we have hints baked into them as well. Like how would you view the source of a web page? Well, F12 does a good job of doing that, right? So I can, walk through these things and it kind of meets you where you're at. But my thing that I think is the most important aspect of the Meta CTF platform is the cert associated with it. We don't do a certification for each one of the categories that we have because that would just be ridiculous, and we might be able to charge lots and lots and lots of money to do that. But we break up the categories and then we do a spider chart of your overall skill for the different categories that you have. So you can share this with people as your certification that you have these things out there as well. So there you go. And all right, so that's the cyber range. And that's Megan can get you a link for that. And that's $30 a month. And you can go in, you can level up on your cyber range, and then that's your certification for this. Cloud Lab Access, I've been teaching. I have about 25 people in. I will process the rest of them tonight, Liam. So you will be getting your cloud access, but be watching for in your spam as well. If you had dinner with one dead famous person in the history of humanity, who would it be and why? We already talked about George Washington. I would just love to sing him happy birthday in a really weird way and confuse the hell out of him. Let me think, like who else would be very high on that list? Somebody I talk about a lot. And George Washington is really, really quite a bit up there. So we already talked about the NSA stuff. You got to do more challenges, level up. I do. Did I go through? Nope. I trained people at the NSA. We talked about that. Is there any countries where hackback is legal? Technically, it's kind of legal in the United States. I'm going to talk about this more with the ADHD law that's being proposed here as well. What is the typical turnaround time for a pen tester applications to BHIS? Right now, a long damn time. Because we're not in a position of hiring. I hired a bunch of people at the end of last year, and it's going to be a while before we grow into our shoes. So it's going to be a while. So we basically tell people we're always hiring and we're never hiring. We'll start with that. Thank you for training. Can't join tomorrow. It'll be recorded. 5phono123. It's going to be recorded, so you can still be part of it. Just at some point in the future. He's a spy. No, I'm not. I'm the man in the van. Every movie you ever seen from an IT perspective, the IT dude in the van is always the first to die. That's who I am, and I know who I am, right? Is there one that's better to start with or just go random? I recommend starting with the lower number challenges, the value ones. What's the name of the program you were talking about earlier that will give you bidirectional shell or something like that? Oh, that's going to be the Rogue RDP thing that we're going to release, and that actually is here. Here we go. So this is actually far more terrifying than a lot of people know. So if I go here, let me go into Discord, back into our channel. There we go. There we are. Am I in the right room? Hopefully you all got it. I think I'm in the wrong one. Hold on.
You're in intro to pen testing.
Too many classes. That's where is it, right here? This one? Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Finally in the right one. So there you go. This is the RDP link. And it goes back to one-click access and bypassing all the different anti-spam filters that you have in there. Favorite hacker movie is actually Die Hard 4.0. It's not Sneakers. It's not Hackers. It's not Matrix. It's Die Hard 4.0. And Die Hard 4.0, aside from him jumping on airplanes and the action sequences, absolutely terrified the hell out of me. Because the premise of Die Hard 4.0 is that the evil person hired a bunch of legitimate hacking companies to hack into a bunch of resources around the United States. And he basically was able to gain access to those and spoof out emails, have these other people hack in and give him step-by-step instructions on how to take over those systems, which is just crazy. Because I think that that's pretty legit what you can do on that. Community count for AC Hunter was when was this going to be? It's already in existence. If you go to active countermeasures, go to active countermeasures. The community edition is available here, like this. Here we go. And you can download it and you can run it. So perfectly cool to do. Follow-up question, why is setting up traps like Spider Trap not ideal? So you would set it up in your environment. For Spider Trap, anything that does a beacon or a callback, we're going to get into Honey Badger. We're going to get into some documents that call back tomorrow. Those are things you want to have connect back on that as well. Those are new. How do you avoid burnout? Have a hobby and limit yourself. Pace yourself 8 hours a day. Go out, bike, exercise. I've got a hangboard for like rock climbing. Literally just hanging, for a couple of minutes, just like a sloth helps kind of clear my head as well. Got a job today for an IT role. Woo! Dark Tower 19. Well done. Surprises. And as you're doing extra learning such as these classes. And yes, that's why we're doing them. Yeah, I agree with the OSINT challenges, Kevin, but there's a ton of really techie people that get completely lost on like the super obvious things for OSINT. So we deal with that as well. So hopefully you all get a chance to play in the virtual machine. It's going to be up and running. When am I going to be updating the books? Effing never. I hate writing books. I don't like the format. I don't like the static of it. I just hate books. I like reading them. I want to make that very clear. I'm not like Andrew Tate, where it's like, I need action. I can't read. There's just words. No, I love reading. I think it's amazing. And if I do writing, I think I'm probably going to be doing writing for the comic book series that we're going to be releasing. The little bit of teaser, it's going to be named The Future is Redacted. We have a big name author working on it, and we have a big name illustrator. I don't know either of them. Actually, I know the author because I met him. I went out to New York and had dinner with him. But I'm probably going to contribute some of the things that I've done in my career over the past 23 years to these books. And then they're going to build, fake stories around them, which I think is pretty cool. Do we use Cobalt Strike? We do. We use Cobalt Strike, Nighthawk, and Brute Rattel, and a ton of custom things as well. There's Mr. Tate. So yeah, that human trafficking weirdo. See, now that's the scary thing. There's a bunch of people like, who's Andrew Tate? Go ask a 16-year-old boy. He is really, really, really bad. I don't know if I like Rattel. I don't think Rattel is as good as they say it is, but I don't know. No thoughts on Terala. What kind of experience, any do you look for people hoping to join BHIS? People who kick ass at cyber range and contribute tools to the community. Any help with that writing publishing pipeline? Not yet, but hopefully soon. Yeah. By the way, for our comics, we have the one that we're working with some secret people. Apparently, I can't talk about who they are because they're like super duper famous in the comic industry. But I can tell you that we are working in conjunction with Jack Resider, and we're going to be converting Darknet Diaries episodes into comic books. And that's another project that I'm super excited about. So I love this format. I love teaching these things out there as well. Do you think we should be taught more about Vikings? I think we should. One of my favorite books is Eaters of the Dead. Fantastic book, which is conversion of the diary of an Arabic gentleman that went up north and converted into a science fiction book, and then eventually a horrible movie that I can't remember, but Antonio Banderas was in it, and it was not good on that. Are there any instances where your pen test failed and I'm able to breach? Constantly. It happens all the time. No ego around that. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever talk to a pen test company or a pen tester, like, we always get in, they're liars. And feel free to tell them that John said that they're liars, and I would be happy to talk to them. And the reason why I think we need to kind of clear the air on this is there's tons of companies that we have tested multiple years, and they're good. They're really, really good. And then we hand them off to Dave Kennedy. And Dave Kennedy and Trusted Sex, sometimes they get in. Sometimes they do, different set of eyes. Sometimes they don't. One of my favorite times is Dave was getting on an airplane in Texas, and he tweeted out, he goes, "We just got done pen testing one of the hardest companies we have ever tried to break into of all time. They were amazing in what they had in their overall security, and it made my testers cry. And that company hired us the year before them." That's how this game works. You are not doing it right unless you're making your life harder, and you should be constantly working on that as well. Did anybody ever get a script for copying a website, for cloning a website? I don't know if anybody got that. So, but no, it's great. Like I said, with Dave at Trusted, and then the folks at InGuardians, the folks at Red Siege. Like I said, I am completely blessed and honored in the fact that my competitors that I go up against in business are actually my best friends, and I think that that's just really, really important for that as well. Oh, that's a different one. Let's see. So shuffle. Oh, that's an interesting way. How is it listening on that port? What is shuff? Did I just learn something new? No, I got to check something. That's just random permutations. I'm trying to figure out where it's actually listening on that port. Oh, it's not even listening on that port at all. It completely bypassed Netcat completely. And it literally is just jumping to banned IP address. So the problem, that might work, but I don't know. So there it's not even listening on the port. Nothing's even connecting to it. So that's interesting. Nope, there it is. Yeah, okay, weird. Are you familiar with National Cyber League SoCal Championship Cup? It'll be my first time going through. We have to defend our network from NCL hackers for 4 hours, not allowed to hack back, only defend. A lot of things that you have in here, like honeyports, I hate to tell you this, white cheddar bunny, you will absolutely make the hackers cry. If you set up these rules that if they run a port scan, it automatically bans them from connecting, they will cry. That'll work. Also, if you really want to mess with them, set all of your passwords to this. Just set all of your passwords. There's only 2 stars. Like 88. How do I do that? Do I put it in quotes? Set your passwords to be like a series of stars. It keeps truncating the stars. Do I do slash 1, 2, 3, 4? Nope, it's still truncating, but there's matter. You can't do that. Stop. But the other one that you can do is set your passwords to be this. Just set them to no password or a bunch of stars, and don't make them too long. But the reason why I love doing that is you're totally going to have them crack your passwords, and they're going to be like, well, we weren't able to crack these passwords. Look, all their passwords are no passwords. Like, no, that's literally our team's password for this as well. What's the attitude of the customer side on the red team? We have great relationships with our customers. We really, really do, because we want them to get better. They want us to come in and find things. It is not an adversarial relationship with them in that situation. Complain to a firewall. How does power over Ethernet work? No, I can. Absolutely. So Sarah Gearshift, how power over the Ethernet works is magic. It involves Skittles and unicorns and electrons wanting to be where they want to be. So there you go. No, I don't. The only thing I want is I want a script, and it's not hard. I could sit and write it, but just basically setting like something that scrapes a website, clones the website, and then logs any connections to that cloned website. That's it. Yep, setting up a cloner that scrapes, and it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be hard to do. I've got one written around here somewhere, but I want to see if ChatGPT can pull it off. All right, folks. With that, I need to get out of here. I've got to get my wife to a dentist appointment. So I want to say thank you so much, and we will resume tomorrow. So get rolling.